Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Paranormal Mediums, another night of paranormal fun. And hold on one second. I'm hearing an echo.
Got it.
Night
Oh,
of paranormal fun. And awesome. Give me one second.
double time. It's double time. So we are on with paranormal mediums, and Theon is having a little difficulty. We're still being live streamed with the technology, and she'll be right back. So some of the things we're going to talk about tonight are spirit communication from loved ones. So we have some of our own experiences. We're getting on the Christmas holiday, and at Christmas, this can be a difficult time for people who have lost loved ones and have even lost pets. Theon herself was talking about how sad she was having, and my dog is declining. He is declining, and I feel that his time is coming up pretty soon. And the holidays are a hard time to be dealing with death, whether it's a human loved one or a pet loved one. So are you back and everything's okay?
Yes.
We're
Yeah.
still live streaming. Were we still live streaming?
Yes, and we just now started doing Instagram. So we have people on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook. So this is going to be a lot of fun.
I about what we're going to be talking about tonight, and I was talking about the holidays being a difficult time, when you have loved ones who have passed over, and that you were feeling very sad yourself this week, and then realized, oh, this is the anniversary of your dog's birth, right?
Yes, yes. And it's funny because I had been dreaming about him for the past couple of days, especially because of Julie's dog Buddy, who I just absolutely love. When I was doing a healing on him, he and my other dog Guapo came through and were helping me with this, sending him like energy and love. So it kind of struck up that feeling of just missing him. And then sure enough, it was his birthday the next day. So
So these
yeah.
death anniversaries, birthdays can be very difficult when it's our loved ones, human or pet. And then the holidays, particularly. And if someone has lost someone over the past year, and this is the first Christmas, it's difficult to just deal with the holidays with the sadness and the grief that comes with that. So that's one of the things we're going to talk about is that
Yeah.
signs from loved ones. We're going to talk about the ways that our loved ones can reach out to us across the veil and communicate with us, and hoping that some people have some of their own experiences that they want to share. And these sharing these experiences bring hope. It brings hope. It brings peace. It can bring a sense of, yeah, well, everything is okay, and I think I can just make it through another day. Because these after death communication experiences can be like getting a phone call from your loved
Right.
one, a phone
Right.
call side. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And also for those of you in the audience, if you want a reading and want to connect with a loved one, feel free to put in the chat any questions that you have. And Julie and I are going to be giving live readings throughout tonight's show. So definitely would love to hear from you. And if you have any stories, we'd love to we'd love to hear them and talk about it, because as Julie's saying, right now with the holidays, holidays can be amazing, but for some people it may kind of maybe difficult for them, missing loved ones or just in general. So we'd love to hear from you and definitely talk about it.
May even be dreading the
Yeah.
holidays because of missing the loved one so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of communication experiences, in your promo this week, you had this great big orb, this great orb. And I was wondering if you would like to tell that story of who that spirit is and how you know spirit.
Oh gosh, yes. Yeah, so Julie and I, as a lot of our promo show, we like to, continuously video ourselves and our space, with night vision cameras, and just to show how much activity is always around us, and not just Julie and I, but all of us, So we always suggest to people to to get night vision cameras, or not specifically just night vision cameras, but you can get the nanny cams and things like that for super cheap. So I was just filming and talking to my mother, as I always do, and if you don't know, she's passed, and so I talk to her pretty frequently. She's actually one of my guides. And I said, I just started up the camera, and I said, Mom, just, show me something. If you're here, do something. And this massive orb, and I'm sitting there watching it on my phone, and this massive orb just pops right out from behind me, up, and so I even stopped it in some parts, and it looked like you can actually see her face, which is really incredible.
Yeah, did you take some screenshots of that, of her
Uh,
face?
I did. I actually, let me see if let me send it first before I um always. So we were just talking about Mercury retrograde. As you can see in the beginning, we had a little technical issue. I definitely attribute it to that, and sometimes my lack of technology skills. And
Oh,
uh,
but you're very lucky because you have a very technologically savvy husband.
yes, that is true. I do have Ben, and thankfully I do, because I typically do things like not remember how to share my screen. Um, yes, and yes, I have actually, I do run a technology and security business, but I do most of the admin stuff. So I'm not as technical as you would think.
Human
Um,
resource administrator, cheerleader,
yeah,
bill collector.
yeah, bill collector, contract person, and all of that. But yeah, so let's see. I'm trying to send it over. Just the screenshot, because I already sent the other one over. But yeah, it was an incredible capture too. So let's
Yeah.
see if I got it. Share it.
How long has your mother has it been since she passed?
She passed October 22nd, 2014. So this is 9 years now. And that was a struggle, especially the holidays. It's funny because Halloween used to be my all-time favorite holiday. And I mean, I would go all out. And she passed on October 22nd. So after that, I just couldn't um, you know, even think about doing holidays like that, or Halloween anymore. So I mean, I do for the kids, but they're older now, so I just
Different. Huh?
yeah, I just dress my dogs up, but I always do that. So um
Well, yeah, my father also passed in October. He passed October 5th in
that's right.
2001.
That's
So it was
right.
right after 9/11 happened. And he, October 5th, 2001. So he's been gone now. How long is that? 2001,
Yeah, 23
2020
years
years, 23
to
years.
almost 23 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He's been gone that long. It's hard
Wow.
to, it's hard to, and it doesn't seem like it's been that long,
Yeah.
when you lose like that.
Isn't it? And it's interesting. It's like it doesn't feel like that long, but then it also feels like forever, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Yeah. Miss them. And just like, wow, it's been so long since I've seen you. But then just the passage of time is when you get to a certain age, it's just hard to wrap your mind around that this much time has actually passed.
Right. I know when you were when I know when I was little, I used to think, oh my gosh, a year is so long. And because I'd be waiting for my next birthday or something like that, or Christmas. And then as I am now that I'm older, I realize how quickly it just feels like everything just blows by. I turned around and I was, I had an infant and now he's my youngest is almost 16. So it's like, I don't know where the heck that went. But
Yeah, yeah, same.
yeah,
My young nephews, I don't know where all that went. They are young men in the military now, and like I it's just bizarre. And I look at my brother. My brother is just a little over a year older than me, and we're looking at each other. Can you believe, that he's 58 and I'm 57? No, it's not even fathomable. It's like
right.
in 13 years, I'm going to be 70.
Ugh.
I've got a
Uh,
lot in the next 13 to 20 years. There's a lot to do. So that I haven't, yeah.
yeah,
So I see your screen changing. And so you have this video ready to share with us.
I do. I do. And then yes, so I'm gonna share it. And so here's the actual video. So literally as soon as I said mom, can you do something so I know you're here? And I kind of cut it so you didn't see me laying in bed.
Oh,
And you only saw the good stuff. So my bed's right here and I'm sitting right here. Okay, so just watch from right here. You're gonna see it. I'm gonna slow it down. I remembered that at least. And then so here we go.
here we go. This is a really large one too, from the way it looked
Yeah,
in the promo.
yeah,
And I see orbs of all different sizes, but the ones that are very large are quite striking.
yeah. And this one was extremely large.
All
There
right,
it
well,
goes.
there it is. Wow. And that was
Yeah,
the moment that you asked her to show you something to show that,
yes. That she
wow.
was that she was with me. Yes. And let me see. The face comes out right. Let's see. It was like right here. Hold on, let me see. There it is. Um, and it was her face too. Let me see. Is it here? It was pretty clear too. Is it here?
And that's one way you can tell, because sometimes orbs are actually dust.
Yeah.
But there are certain things you look for to know whether or not this is actually an orb or a piece of dust. And one
y-
thing is if it has a face in it. Some
Right.
orbs will have a face in it. And there are some that look remarkably like a person that that has passed.
Yeah.
And
And
then, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, and sometimes you can see it just because, what is it? Pareidolia? Pareidolia? Uh,
Pareidolia. The brain
yeah.
is wired to see faces, and you can see faces, in a pizza.
Right, exactly. But I know my mother's face and I don't know if you can see this well, but here are her eyes right here. This is her nose and her mouth.
Yeah, I need my reading glasses to get a good look at this.
I wish
Um,
I can,
but
let me
I
see if
will
I can make it
definitely
bigger.
look at
Yeah.
that again later too. Because
Yeah.
and I thought I brought my glasses over here, and I don't even see them. I don't know what I did with them. Do you have that problem? You don't know where you did for your glasses?
All the time.
Yeah,
Um,
I,
let's,
I can kind of see the face, but I want to be able to see the detail. But I'll need my glasses for to see it.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm just going to show it to you one more time. So it comes right from here and it's massive. I mean, you see the size of my mirror and in the wall here. So
Yeah,
it was huge.
yeah,
Um yeah, so it took up a lot of space.
that is so cool that
Yeah.
happened. The timing of it, you
Right?
can't the odds of seeing something like that and the timing, just as you asked.
Right? Absolutely. And I took the screenshot of the face. So let's see if I can blow this up a little bit for you. Let's see.
Yeah, and there's some other ways, when you're looking at your pictures or your videos, spirit orbs will often leave a trail, like a
Yeah,
glowing trail.
right. And can you see that, Julie?
Yeah.
So these are her eyes right here. This is her
Uh,
nose and then her mouth.
wow.
And it looks exactly like this picture that I have of her too. And maybe I
Wow.
should have shown that, but yeah.
You know what you could do with that too is just your screenshot to edit it to just really up the contrast in it. I mean, you have to
Yes.
the facial features should show up more. And then you could see now I'm like really starting to see it now. And then you can compare it, show it next to her actual photo.
Oh, yes. I'm gonna do that actually. But it was interesting. And so we're speaking about family. And I was just watching this. Of course, I love every paranormal show that's out there. And so I love to take my husband and kids to paranormal investigations, despite the fact that they were reluctant at first, but now that I think they like it. But but on one of our many paranormal investigations, we went to Louisiana. And if anybody's ever heard of the Myrtle Plantation. So Myrtle, well, they call it the Myrtle Mansion, but the Myrtle Mansion is one of actually the country's most haunted house,
I,
and for good reason. I mean the energy there was insane. There's actually a young girl that she was a young like slave, and I guess was uh sort of like I guess at the time they were the husband or the yeah, had kept her as like his I guess mistress, and but was obviously cruel. I mean, she was a young girl, and they were thinking of kind of stopping that, and she got upset, and she poisoned her the kids that she was watching, and meant to really just knock them out, but ended up killing them. So it was this whole thing. A lot of like really strong energy is there, where it's not just her, it's the kids. There's other people. The wife is still there. In fact, the image that I'm going to put up is where we were in like the parlor room, which she called it the psychic room because she would have psychics come in. Her husband, I mean, it's a very tragic house. I mean, there was a lot of death. And the husband was an attorney, and somebody came to the door needing an attorney. So the husband came up and opened the door, and the guy shot him in the chest. He ended up
oh,
walking up to to the 17th stair where the wife found him, and he died in her arms.
mm,
She it was so sad. And she ended up, I'm trying to find it. She ended up mourning him the rest of her life. So she would have psychics come in, and when I say mourning, she wouldn't leave the house. And so her energy is very strong there. And you know, it, it's sad because you know her whole life was, I guess, basically centered around him. So you could feel the sadness within that room.
Mm.
And I love to show this to you because this is actually my first full body apparition that
Oh,
I
the
got.
camera, that's right. You got like a
Right.
woman profile.
Yeah, and you could tell she's wearing a morning outfit, and she's wearing a veil and everything. And one of the most incredible captures I've ever had. Here it is. Okay. So I'm going to send these two over. And again, if you are looking to get a reading, please feel free to put in the chat, and Julie and I will.
I have a question. Do you have a
Yeah.
question about after
Yes,
patient experiences with your own loved ones? We would love
yes,
to try to tackle that question for you.
absolutely.
And so
Yes.
this picture, and one thing when you're going into these places, these haunted places, and you're taking pictures, is to take several pictures at the same spot without moving, like boom, 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 and
Yes.
then compare them. Because like with Theon, she'll have this picture of this apparition, but a millisecond later, in the next photo, it's gone. So
Yeah. It was actually the first photo was nothing.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Second photo, she has this apparition. So if you're on doing the rapid burst on your photos, your camera on your phone, you can capture these on your cell phone. You don't need to have the infrared camera at night. You can capture them. So that rapid fire photo shooting can be your friend in those kind of situations. And so
Absolutely.
Theon's
Yeah. And so this is the parlor. So right where I'm kind of pointing, this is where you're gonna see her. So I'm gonna just go in, but you could tell nobody's left their position. This is literally like half a second. I'm doing a rapid, like Julie's saying, a rapid shoot. So you see right here, and people always say, "What was that?" That was a coat rack. Um, but I'm moving, so it was obviously it's a little blurry, but you're gonna see in the next one.
and the lights are low. So this is
Yeah.
the one where there is no apparition, but there is a coat rack in the background.
Yeah. And then now
Oh,
clearly, yeah.
now you see the difference. So right, it's in that window frame,
Yeah.
and it's directly across from the goat rack. You can see her profile. It's in.
Yes.
Okay. And now go back to the first one again for comparison, and you can see how that picture changed in less than a second. And see,
And you,
she's not there.
yeah. So, and you still see the lady in the red shirt, like she's just, in the same position. And
Yeah.
then
And this second photo is actually clearer than the first one, too.
I know, I know. It was almost like she wanted to, but you could tell, you could see her veil kind of flowing behind her.
Yeah.
And and you could tell that she's wearing sort of that 1800s type dress. And it just tells you how even after we pass, we're still connected. We're still connected to our house, we're still connected to the people that we love. And whether we know it or not, sometimes people stay in the
Their
in
energy,
the
yeah, the energy
yeah.
can. Some people, they don't cross over, and they're still. And then sometimes it can be just the energetic memory, and it's not the actual spirit, but there's like snapshots in time, energetic memory. But our cameras can capture things that the eyes cannot see, and that is quite established. And so, and you see too that when you're taking photos in a place, a haunted place, and to see if you can capture some spirits or spirit activity, how important it is to have that point of comparison. So taking several pictures of the same spot in the same location, not moving, but being in the same position, you have that point of comparison, because without that first one, that second one, we could explain it away as being any kind of shadow or anything in the background. But when you compare it with the first one, you're like, okay, here's a definite change. And this isn't a piece of dust. This is actual silhouette of a person's profile, a full body profile.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't think I've ever, ever caught one that, you know, that strong. I mean, it was, and it tells you, the energy too, and how long she's been there. I mean, this is happened in the 1700s. So, she's, as spirits, especially earthbound spirits, as they're, still remaining in the space, it still remains to be their space. And right. And
Right.
so, you could tell, I think the locations that are, that have the strongest activity are the ones that have years and years of this energy kind of sticking around.
It just
Right.
sticks stronger and stronger. And then the more people that are coming in and out, they will feed off of living people's energy. And
Yes.
that will make, and so this is why it is not healthy to live in a place that has a lot of spirit activity that is earthbound, because it can drain your energy. It can make you sick. It can make you tired all of the time. It's just is not, it's not a healthy thing. I was gonna tell you, I actually haven't told you this because I haven't talked with you much today. But this morning I had a short little lesson from my guides, because in the morning, this is when I get lessons and communication from my guides and various other spirits. But I had a little lesson, and it was like in a little short waking dream, and they were talking to me, and it was about earthbound spirits. And so they're giving me the education, and it's basically what they showed me. They like to make things comical, and they make things like cartoons. It looks like CGI, I'm seeing the visions. But what they said was, what makes him earthbound, like the spirit, what makes it earthbound is the baggage that he carries. And I never thought about it that way. But yeah, if you think about what makes someone stuck on the earth plane, why they're not crossing over, because there's something on the earth plane that's still holding them. So whatever that baggage may be. So for her, this particular spirit, the baggage, obviously with this trauma that she was not able to release with her husband. And then of course you have the trauma of the children being killed and all of this. So there's the baggage. The visual that they showed me, it was this guy, and he looked kind of like a zombie. He was just, they're just being funny because they like to make me laugh, but he's like a zombie, and he's holding like this little soft pig toy, like a stuffed toy. And he was just doing like this stereotypical thing,
Right.
and that's
Zombie.
what so they were just giving me like this. So it's like there was like a certain amount of intelligence that's lost, because he's doing the stereotypical behavior, and he's holding this toy. I guess this is his baggage, and he's zombie looking because he's not crossed over, and he's just stuck in this earth plane, and he needs to go to a higher plane. But what is the trauma that's holding him back? So,
and even the energy of that. So sometimes when you talk about poltergeist activity being a non-intelligent energy that's left behind, right? That is and a lot of time is repetitive. So sometimes a spirit can come, can manifest as a poltergeist, if it's repetitive. So like, this is how you would know. If every single day at 12 o'clock, this spirit walks from here to here, or like rings a bell, That's
Uh,
not necessarily an intelligent spirit. It's
right.
literally the energy of that spirit, of that person being left behind. And so yeah, and it's interesting because there are so many different levels, right, Julie? Like ones that hold themselves here because they because of that trauma. Children, sometimes they don't know, sometimes they're scared and they feel like, okay, when I if I crossed over to that light, then I'm actually gone. So they don't understand that
And
there is something else.
some are afraid and think they're going to hell. So
Yeah,
they don't go anywhere. So they're afraid of judgment and going to hell. But what they don't realize is staying stuck on the earth plane is hell.
is the hell. Yeah,
That,
exactly.
or there's people they don't want to leave behind, or someone they're still searching for, or there's just so many different
Yeah.
reasons.
And let's talk about our your father and my mother. My mother is already crossed over, but she's still able to come here. So it's not like my mother is earthbound.
Right.
So there is the difference. Like, so people ask me that all the time, like, well, does that mean that they're stuck here? No, it means that they understand. They're still in that in that higher plane, but they're able to come back and forth. Their energy can. And on
They're
some
they're right here, but in a higher dimension, a higher density.
right.
But it's not so high that we can't capture the essence of the energy on video, or that we can see the lights of their spirit with our eyes. Some of us can see that with our eyes. Theon can see
Yeah.
their eyes sometimes, and so do I. So it's just a different frequency on the what do you call it? The electromagnetic spectrum,
Yeah.
you know,
Yes.
or our photosensitivity can be a little different. And so ours has developed, it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we, as we sort of train to be professional mediums. I mean, that comes with the territory. You're focusing a lot on that other plane. So we feel very comfortable, and that's why we consider it more normal, not so para.
Well, because it's
Right.
our, and if you do a poll and how many people actually believe in the mediumship abilities, but also believe that their loved ones are still here in another form, there's a lot of people. And how many people actually have had their own experiences? It was so easy. I chose to do my PhD dissertation on after death communication experiences and the effects that these have on grief, which for the most part were positive effects. And I chose that because of my own experience that I had with my dad right after he died. So when my dad died was when I'm searching for my topic for dissertation. And I decided on that, and I can tell you about that story. But I also, before I forget, wanted to mention earthbound spirits cannot communicate with us in the way that spirits who have crossed over can. But just because someone has not heard from their loved one does not mean that their loved one is earthbound. You see? So there's lots of reasons why you may not have been able to connect with your loved one. But one way to help an earthbound spirit to cross over is to help them understand when they do cross over, they've not left their loved ones. They can still come and go as they please, and they have more power even to be able to communicate.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you want to hear about my story?
Yes, I'd love to. Yes.
Okay. So this was in 2001. So this has been, a good little while ago. It was after my father died. I was living in California because I was in a PhD program for psychology at the time. And I just wanted to be there and live there. And I chose to go to school while I was out there. And before he died, I came home because they said it's time to call the family in. We're gonna have to take him off life support. He had 2 different forms of lung cancer, and he could not breathe without a ventilator. So he's completely dependent on these machines. And so we decided we were gonna end his suffering and not make him live on a machine. So I came home, and we're all with him when he died. And it was pretty traumatic. And I was, of course, like anybody, was grief stricken. And I went back home and I'm having all of these thoughts about, oh, should I come back home to North Carolina? Should I go back to California? And I even on his deathbed, and he couldn't speak because he had this tube in his throat, but even in his deathbed, I had mentioned something about me being home, and he was non-verbally saying, no, do not come home. He really wanted me to stay in California and to finish my PhD and just not to come back here and get stuck, without finishing my PhD. Well, 2 days after he died, excuse me, it was 2 days after the funeral. So he died on the 5th of October. The funeral's on October the 9th. 2 days later, I was going to fly back to California. Before I flew back to California, I was laying in my bed asleep, and we were having all kinds of things happening in the house, like light bulbs were blowing. There was things happening with electricity. There's like one time I had opened the refrigerator door and I left it open, and my dad would always fuss at me and say, close the refrigerator door, because you're letting all the cold air out. Well, I was standing there, and all of a sudden that door just closed. It went boom, like fast, like hit it, and it closed. We're having all these things happen. And that particular night, the battery went dead in the smoke alarm, and it kept beeping, beeping, beeping. Nobody was awake enough to just get up and take the battery out or put another one in. It was probably 2 a.m, 3 a.m, and 4 a.m. And I just did not have the wherewithal to get up, but it kept me in a state of consciousness where I did not go to quite asleep, and I was not quite awake. And I had this profound out of body experience. And I used to have a lot of out of body experiences back then, and I could feel it when it was about to happen because my body would start vibrating. Yeah. And I'm like, it's going to happen. A weird sensation. And I felt myself leave my body, and then I'm flying. I'm like, oh, cool. Where am I going to go? And I'm flying and I'm flying. And I flew into this really dark void. It was just pitch black. And then all of a sudden there was my dad, and he came out like through a doorway, and he's like, what are you doing here? And I said, hey, Dad. And we just like hugged. And I said, I miss you so much. And he said, oh, I miss you too, baby. And I had this instant knowing that this doorway that he came from, it was like he had been there for a long time, not like 4 or 5 days. It was like time had a completely different meaning. And I had this instant knowing of the rest of my family members who were there, and that they had been having a big family reunion, like they used to have when I was a kid. And like it was just this big party, and everything about him and his energy was like so jubilant. He was so happy. And my dad used to suffer a lot from depression. And so I never really knew him as a real happy person. But here he was happier than I ever knew him in life. And there was just this joyousness about it. And I said, I want to go through that door. I want to see what's there. And it was like, no, you can't go through that. And it's time for you to go back. So I came back. I'm back in my body. And the next morning, and I went to sleep. The next morning I woke up, and the quality of my grief had changed, like from night to day. So it just completely, like in an instant, had left. So not to say that I didn't cry anymore, I didn't have more periods of grief, but it was just that underlying like uncertainty and depression, and that it changed. And I was like, I was suddenly feeling so hopeful. I was feeling good. I'm going back to California. I'm going to finish this PhD. This is going to be my topic for my dissertation, because this deserves study. So regardless of whether or not anyone believes that this is real, or believes that I really had this interaction with my dad's spirit, It doesn't matter. What
Right.
matters is the experience and how it affected my grief and the outcomes that came beyond that, which were very, very positive. And when I
Right.
did study and I started like seeking volunteers who would talk about their experience, it was the easiest thing in the world. I did not think that I would easily find people, but all I had to do, ask one person, "Oh yeah, I've had this experience. Will you let me interview you and do this questionnaire?" Do that, and then I would ask them, "Do you know anybody?" And then, "Oh yeah, I know somebody." And then it was like a snowball effect. I had no problems, like just like that. I had 12 people to do in-depth interviews with on their experiences. And then I was able to apply that to grief models. See, the problem back then, and some therapists will still do that, is they
Yeah.
will minimize your experience and will and
Mhm.
well, this is a hallucination that can happen, when you have grief. And, the thing is to move beyond that and blah, 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 that is
Right.
born Freudian, um, Freudian theory, which is not based in science. So there's a new group of researchers that had come along. Class, KLASS is one of them. And for the life of me, I can't remember the other one. And it was on continuing bonds, showing what people really do when a loved one dies, and that is
Right.
maintain bonds and relationships. And when it fits within a belief system or not, of
Right.
life continues after death, and you have these experiences, it can have profound effects on a person's life, on their development, and on their grief process. And the important thing for a therapist or a counselor to realize, or a pastoral counselor, is that your belief about this phenomenon or your belief about the existence of life after death does not matter.
Right.
What matters is your client, and
Right.
they're helping them to integrate the experience, make meaning of it, and use it in a way that leads them to growth, that helps them to maintain those bonds with their deceased loved one, which is healthy, as long as it's not
Right.
obsessive. There is a difference. And that can lead to personal development and new meaning and purpose and all of that good stuff.
Yeah. And look what that experience did for you. It
Yeah.
opened you up. Yeah. I
And
mean,
research, this was like new research. No one had done this before. I had very little literature to support my research on. And then it was published in the journal Omega of shit
Institute. Yeah.
the Journal of Death and Dying. It's
Yes.
Omega, the Journal of Death and Dying. It was published in 2004, which is not an easy thing to do, is to get your research published for professionals. It's not for the layperson, it's for professional therapists to read. So
That's
it's
incredible.
pretty cool.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, but just how profound that experience, and now looking back on it, to then get to see your father in a way that you'd never before, and
Yeah,
and to connect with him, and for him to really start opening you up to everything that you're doing now. Now you're helping people through this.
it really
And
did.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And back then, I would have never in a million years said, "Oh, I'll be a medium and I'm going to be doing readings and I'm going to have all these experiences and communication." I would have never believed it back then. I had some psychic experiences and I was interested in it, but I had not been opened up and activated like I have now in my 50s, which is just the Pandora's box just open in my 50s. But so it's just kind of cool that I still have that little piece of research that has been cited over 100 times, because now since then there's been a lot of research. So I did one of the first studies on it, so it's been cited quite a bit, which is kind of cool. So
Yeah. That's amazing.
dad, I attribute all of that to my dad.
Well, and a lot of it is you, and you're already like, and you're still doing things that are really innovative and helping people with other experiences, and especially with protections and having some psychic attacks, things like that. It's the things that you're doing and the things that you've had to sort of overcome to get here is just incredible.
It's a learning
And
for you and me, but for anybody who takes this path that don't think it's going to be easy and then you're not going to be faced with challenges.
yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. And usually the ones that have these experiences and have the harder experiences are the ones that are called to being that voice for other people, and having a lot of traumas within my life. Same, I find, and we talked about this before, I find that clients will gravitate to me for those reasons, and they don't even know it, and it's usually because of their loved one who's had that experience, and stuff like that, because it's the energy and what we have to deal with, especially Julie being a psychologist, and just in general helping people with what we help them with is a very delicate situation. You really have to understand where someone's coming from. You have to um you know well, one, want to help, and be able to handle the things that you hear. So it's definitely a huge undertaking. And again, we're all psychic, and we all have the ability to utilize our abilities in any way that we choose. Some may just use them for themselves, and that's not a bad thing. It's always good to have all of your senses running at the same time, right? It only helps to better you. But then there are people that really kind of like Julie, the innovator that has gone through so much just to get where you are, and has been resilient through the whole thing. So it's amazing. And and for it to be your father who really woke you up, it just is the most beautiful thing. Yeah.
That was pretty incredible. I had another one years before with my grandmother that woke me up and also pulled me out of a suicidal depression.
Wow.
I've suffered with a lot of depression. So, and this was when I was in my 20s. This was when I was in my 20s. Very, very bad love affair. Oh my God, how many women and
I
men
know.
went to these depressions over what they think is love. Oh gosh. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And if you have any experiences, everyone, or want a reading on this, please
please
feel free to put in the chat. Yeah.
put it
Yeah.
in the chat. And
Yeah.
especially your after death communication experiences, that can happen in so many different ways. This one was a dream. I was in a clinical depression, and this is when I was in law enforcement. So not only was I affected by the lack of sleep because we were doing rotating shifts. So you work 4 days, 7 to 7 in the morning, 7 at night to 7 in the morning. You're off 4 days, then you go back to work and you work 7 in the morning to 7 at night. So your system is never on a steady schedule. So that messes with your brain chemistry. Then there was all the negativity and all of the hard things and the traumas that I was dealing with on a daily basis in law enforcement, not to mention some of the negative attachments that were coming because of what I was exposed to.
Right.
And then there was the love affair. This man like demolished my heart in a way that I cannot even explain. And I got clinically depressed and was very suicidal. One night, I had a dream. My grandmother came to me in a dream, but it was not a normal dream. It was a visitation dream. It was so clear that all these years later, this was in the 1990s, all these years later is still very clear and vibrant in my memory, because this is how profound and how clear and vibrant and lucid this dream was. And I walk into this little cabin And there's my grandmother. Now I remember my grandmother's being a little, very old and a little hunched over, right? In the dream, her back was straight, her hair was black. She had black hair and a very, very straight back. And she looked young. I mean, maybe like in her 30s or something. And there was an open window on the other side, and there was a black crow in that window trying to come in to the house. She went over and she closed that window so the crow could not come in. The crow was a symbol of death. Okay. So in this tradition, in this family, the crow is a symbol or an omen of death. She closed that window and then she came back to me and she embraced me. There was no word said. It was just this embrace that I could feel. And so much love was poured into me from this spirit, from this woman that I had never experienced in my life. It was incredible. And that was the totality of the dream. And then I woke up. And when I woke up, I could still feel her embrace and I could feel that love. But the love did something to me. The love shifted, changed the way I was feeling about myself. It shifted and changed my brain chemistry somehow, where suddenly I am not feeling what I was feeling, and I'm not feeling suicidal anymore. It's like I'm feeling very light and I'm feeling loved. And that was the problem that I had, was not feeling love, not knowing love, not being separated from love. And she came and she connected with me in a way where I experienced love, and it lingered with me and stayed with me. It was just profound. And after that, a wonderful woman came into my life that was sent by God, I believe. And she was a self-esteem coach and mentor. Wonderful. And she probably saved my life. And very shortly after meeting her and taking classes with her and doing workshops with her and doing personal counseling with her, that's when I went to California and started my new life. Yeah. So these experiences can be absolutely profound. And one of the worst things people can do, and I don't know if you've had this happen, and I know there's people who may listen to this who may have had this happen, that you share a story like that to someone else who does not share your belief that this is a real spirit, and they minimize it or they try to explain it away. When you do something like that, you are treading on holy ground, and it's like stepping on somebody's grave, and you better get the hell off of it, right? And just listen to your person and accept their experience for what it is without asserting your own belief system.
Yeah, I just saw flashes just as you said that. When you said listen to your person, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be respectful of the dead and be respectful of the living.
Yeah. Absolutely. Talking about, that specifically is, needing to judge. It was funny because I was on the phone with my sister today, and she was just in her car going to the grocery store, and we're talking, and before she gets out of her car, she was, okay, I'm going to call you back. And I hear this lady tap on her window, and in the parking lot, and she goes, I can hear you. And she goes, okay. Like, what? It doesn't make any sense. Like, how people feel that they well, one, she was in her own personal space, which was odd, and in a parking lot. But it just tells you, like, how we are so intertwined into what people and other people's businesses, or business. Like, it's and how we push ourselves and our ideals or our conditioning on other people. And to just dismiss someone for, let's say, their experience, right? Is really not to see somebody fully. It is to
Right.
look through your own, look through your own conditioning.
Your own filter. And it's also pretty selfish and egotistical. Like it is arrogant. It is arrogant to do that, as if you are the important one and you have all the answers and the truth, and everyone else is down here somewhere, and their experiences and their beliefs, if it doesn't match up with what you believe, then it's wrong. That's unenlightened.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
being and it's being rude.
Yeah, and it's thinking small. For me, and
Oh,
I'm not perfect, but one thing I always make sure of is if I'm hearing them, and whether I understand it or believe it or not, it's not for me to tell them what what I think is right instead. It's about understanding where they're going through. So I'm always looking at even my own beliefs. And I think I said this on the last show, is that I'm always questioning even my own beliefs, because if I don't want to stay stagnant in my way of thinking. And if, let's say, I'm having a conversation with somebody and it doesn't fit what I think, I don't judge them. I say, okay, well, what is their perspective? How do they see it this way? Maybe I'm seeing it differently. And it's not, and not that I'm questioning myself, but that I'm wanting to expand my, the way that I think, and also to, understand a person. And it's funny is, maybe because I'm, just insanely empathic. And I was thinking about this today. I was like, how much, sometimes I don't even know if it's my energy or somebody else's. But I do have I guess a blessing and a curse of being very empathic. But I usually know when somebody truly believes something, whether it's could be my perception of truth or not. But that's because I want to understand them. I
yeah.
want to understand the truth about them.
Yeah, it's simply to be respectful and to be curious. So instead of getting caught up in what you believe or what you don't believe can be true or what is possible, simply listen to understand.
Yeah.
Listen to understand. Try to see through the other person's eyes.
Right.
And that can help open your mind up in ways you just cannot even believe. It doesn't
Absolutely.
believe, but you don't have to make an argument out of it or minimize their experience. Because if someone loses somebody, they're vulnerable anyway. And then they have these experiences that are very personal and profound. And many people are afraid to talk about it because they think people will tell them that it's wrong, or that it's a hallucination, it's some part of their grief or whatever, that it's not going to be accepted. And that's painful. That's painful. But when you can listen to someone, hear them, and validate how powerful this experience is for them, that is a gift.
Yeah.
That is a gift. And then open your mind up. If you don't believe it, open your mind up. Well, what if it's true?
Yeah. Yeah. And what I have always understood, and people always, well, I wouldn't say people and always. I want to say that the I guess the old way of thinking was, okay, well, if science hasn't proved it yet, well, as we're seeing, science is starting to prove a lot of this stuff. So I wouldn't go with what you've heard before, because everything is evolving. And and what we thought 10, 20 years ago, we're all finding out different things. So that's why I always stay open, and regardless of what science says, or what always try to think for yourself. And that's
There,
why I'm talking about politically, religiously, and just socially, and with family. Think for yourself, and try to always look at the adverse of what your thoughts are, because I mean, because you might find that, hey, maybe I'm wrong. And Julie and I say this because one, we come from extremely strict backgrounds, myself, being, a devout Catholic, and having to sort of, make sense of, what I was taught versus what I know, and being able to speak up about it, and being able to say, okay, well, maybe this isn't correct, or maybe, that is somebody else's perception. But um but 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 the fact that I do it has really helped me to, one, see people in a different light. I remember being a kid, I think we all said this, oh, I hate people and blah blah blah. I don't hate people anymore. I
Mhm.
understand them. They're all different. They're all beautiful in so many different ways. And, whether, they agree with me or not, ha- I always like to understand where they came from. And, once I understand where they came from, I end up loving them anyway. So it's like, and I think, Julie and I were talking about this earlier. If we all just did that, could you imagine?
What a be
Yeah,
to accept her regardless and not have to always have a point to prove.
yeah. Yeah, because it's really not about that. It really isn't. And, this is where I would maybe 10 years ago say, oh my gosh, this is hippy dippy stuff. But it is about unconditional love. It is. It's about, and when I say like unconditional love, I don't mean like hippie, unconditional love. I truly mean without condition. And, if when you can stop judging other people, without condition, then you could probably you could do that for yourself. I mean, it tells me now, if you are so quick to judge, then what is going on inside? What are you saying to yourself? And that, that reflection may open you up to something else.
Yeah.
So, I'll get off my soapbox, but
Yeah. Somebody is in big agreement with you, because when you were talking about loving people without condition, little spirit light just came on in the corner of my ceiling.
same things are happening to me. It's so
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, they're just acknowledging what we're saying. I want to make a little note too about science, okay? So science doesn't prove anything, and science does not seek to prove anything. They make observations and they develop hypotheses about what it is that they're seeing, and then they design studies and they get results and they'll create theories about their results. But what they're trying to do is falsify. You want to falsify your hypothesis, and if you get evidence to support your hypothesis, that's all you're doing is supporting your hypothesis. So we be careful with the word prove, because it's not about proving. We want to support our hypothesis, and then if we get enough evidence and support our theories that come from that, if you get enough evidence to support it, there's always more evidence that can come in and falsify it. Okay, so here's the thing about life after death. Here's the thing about spirits and spirit communications, and that what we do as psychics and mediums, no one has disproven it. Right. So, well, there's no proof. You can't prove it. There's not a lot of evidence. Well, one of the problems with this is that mainstream science, they don't want it, it's not accepted, really. So we have parapsychologists who are doing excellent scientific work on this, but mainstream psychology, mainstream science has a little trouble with that, because there's no real theory to explain it. Now, if we start delving into, people will throw around quantum physics very loosely, but let me tell you, when you start delving into quantum physics and trying to wrap your head around that, there are lots of compelling theories out there from the level of quantum physics. This is the behavior of reality, particles and energy on a subatomic level that behaves completely different from the macro level. And the theories about consciousness and how conscious is non-local. It's very compelling stuff. And so it's just a matter of just diving in and reading, doing some reading and opening up the mind. But one day, I believe science will explain a lot of this. Right now, it can't, because science is based on the physical world. We're talking about the non-physical world. There's no real paradigm for studying the non-physical world, right? But just give us time. Give us time as a human race. I think we're going to get there. So as psychics and mediums and people who have their third eye open and who can tell the difference between like intuition and real psychic work versus the mind and schemas in the mind and thinking very, very quickly that's based on faulty heuristics. Okay. And I know I'm using a lot of big words, but basically we will make quick decisions based on past experiences, and that can be faulty. And we can make assumptions based on past experiences that can be faulty. So as we're learning and we are doing classes and practice and development of our psychic abilities, that's one thing you have to be able to differentiate, and it just takes practice. Eventually, though, we are going to get there, and we're going to have, I think, some very compelling theories and find a way to have the evidence that will become more mainstream.
Yeah. And, it's funny is when we're going through training, psychics, mediums, intuitives, the one thing that is always apparent and always worked on is shedding those, like shedding the conditioning, shedding the programming, because as you start shedding, you start actually coming into who you really are. And this is why, you see all these people like, oh gosh, now they've gone all the way to the spiritual side. And, I used to be one of those people and say, oh my gosh, that's so hippie, like, and laugh about it. And, but you're really actually just, shedding all of these blocks that you've had. And once you shed those blocks and the conditioning and those old thought forms, you start opening up to what to reality and to actually hearing, to actually like
hear, or it goes underneath the brain. It's not being interpreted by the brain.
Yes.
And so you and I know what that means. People who've not experienced that have absolutely no idea what we mean, but just trust us. Still recognize, and sometimes can still mess up. We can still mess up, because we're learning how to do psychic detective work, and Theon is really, really getting really, really good at it. But our teacher will show us a picture of someone, and we are to read that picture. So we'll read the energy of the picture. But if the person is dressed a certain way or they look a certain way, it's very easy for us to rely on what's called the availability heuristic, or the representative heuristic, which is a mental shortcut based on past experiences. If I see someone in a ball cap and a beard and they're wearing a plaid shirt, oh, well, they must live in the South, or they must live in the Midwest. They must be a farmer, or they must be this or that. Or if I see someone and they've got a nice tan and they've got blonde hair and they don't have a shirt on, and I might see a little bit of the ocean, my mind will automatically go to, oh, this is a surfer. But that could be the farmer, and he's just gone to the beach for the day. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's easy. We can get caught up in that. But when we start recognizing this is how the mind works, and then cut through that noise and go a little bit deeper, and then start pulling in information that goes under the brain, it's not being interpreted by the brain. It's totally quick in the moment, visions, things we may hear from our guides, or what we're viewing. And God, my ear is just ding, ding, ding,
chirping,
ding.
Yeah.
God, it's like somebody's ringing a bell in my ear. So that's really, really important to be able to recognize and understand the difference, because that's when you can start getting very wrong and bad information.
Yeah.
Psychic, when you
Yeah.
and you don't even know that there is such a thing as an availability heuristic. I'm knocking my ring thing over, or a representative heuristic.
Yeah, and it's funny is when and it's I just gotta I'm always very connected to Julie and vice versa. And it's funny because when you said the chirping, I automatically I'll tell you after what I heard. It made me laugh. But yeah, so it and I was just listening to Julie, and it comes in. It's like I always say this. It's like me drawing a picture is my imagination, and Julie showing me a picture is intuition. So it's like I wasn't expecting the
I
picture,
love that. Oh, I
right?
love that more.
Right?
That's exactly what it's like. So, am I thinking this up? Is my mind at work, or am I suddenly being shown something?
Right.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
showing, and I know this is not me. Yeah.
Yeah, and because I'm on a totally different thought pattern. I'm listening to what Julie's saying, and then I get a hit. So in a regular reading, we're clearing everything. So we're just hearing the hum or the of whatever of the energy, and then it just starts coming in. And
What?
so
And we're not thinking.
right, it's not
You're
about thinking.
It's just it's coming in. You've got the mind is in a very still and focused place, and it just comes in with no thought.
Right. Yeah, and it's interesting. And Julie and I, I also teach intuitive development, and Julie and I will be doing like psychic circles and things. So, if you're interested in just trying to develop for yourself, or if you're looking to really grow as a psychic or a medium, definitely check us out. We're going to start stuff after some of these programs after the new year, and we'd love to show people how incredibly intuitive we all are, and and just what's interesting to me is that, like, I always say this, and especially with my husband, who's always so very resistant of me trying to show him or try to get him to do an intuitive practice. Um, you know, if somebody said, I'm going to give you an ability that helps you find like solve problems or find missing things, or
Or find your phone.
yeah, exactly. Although I lose my phone if I'm talking on it. So, yeah. Even I do that. But wouldn't you want to do that? Wouldn't you want to have that ability? Well, that we all have it. So, why not just, help yourself, develop that even more? Because I secretly just want a whole world of intuitives that are free thinking and considerate of each other. But in other respects, I definitely feel that this just benefits everyone, because it's almost like, I see people and I'm like, well, if you only just tapped into your ability, you would totally, like, there's so many of your thoughts and sometimes even issues could be adjusted in a good way. So
Just your ability to read people. Wouldn't it be nice to know, okay, I don't want to waste my time with this person by dating them, because you get a good enough read to know that this is not a compatible or not a safe person. And there's this thing that Pam talks about does he pass the elevator test? To be able to read, would you get on an elevator with this person? Meaning, is this a violent person? So we're learning how to read faces through the eyes about whether or not this person could be violent.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if that's your objective, then by all means you should. And that's not to say, hey, there aren't intuitives out there that sometimes don't listen to that part. Yeah.
Yeah. But wouldn't it be
But
nice to know that you can tap into that and make better decisions about the people that you're going to allow into your environment?
yeah, Absolutely. Again, we're always the balance of our eternal and physical selves. So, depending on what your focus is, and your reason for wanting to, build your intuitive ability, it's worth it. It's always worth it. And I will say, I always like to talk about this, especially because I know my husband's hearing me. There's many a times this 30-year technology engineer has asked me for to look into something, and had his problem solved in like 5 minutes. So
That's
yeah. I'm like, you could do it yourself, but we'll see. But yeah, I mean, oh, and we did have somebody kind of wrote in or spoke to Julie earlier, and we were going to do a reading, but maybe we'll do that privately, I guess. Maybe
yeah,
yeah.
that private, write them back.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, so we'll do that tonight. And but for everyone else, we are not going to be on next Wednesday because of the holiday, and I'm going to be out of town. And but we will be back right after the new year. And so but in the meantime, if you have questions or have any stories you want to share with us, feel free to message us on the Evolve Me Instagram, Evolve Me YouTube, and Evolve Me Facebook. And they'll definitely send that to Julie and I, and we'd love to talk to you and hear your stories, and maybe even have you on the show.
That would be
So that would be awesome. And after the new year, we're going to be looking to do live readings for individuals. So we're going to do like raffles and things like that, and we'll bring you on and do a live reading. But yeah, so if Julie, let them know where they can kind of reach out to you.
okay. Well, you can reach out to both of us on evolveme.com, EVOLVME, and I'm listed as Dr. Julie Starr, and then Theon Paulino Filippelli.
Long
And
name.
so my Instagram handle is Julie Starr 33, which is STARR, 2 R's. And then I also have Facebook, Julie Starr Parker, STARRPARKER. Yeah.
And that's I have Instagram, and I'm not going to say I'm really bad about social media personally, but you can always reach me at Theon PF at on Instagram, and you can reach me always on Evolve Me. I have the longest name, and probably am the only person in the world with the first name of Theon. And
Which HEON.
yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
story behind your name too that I love, but maybe another day you can tell the story.
Yeah, absolutely. I know it's a funny one. Well, I'll say it real quick. So, my father was just in love with this name. He was in a Greek mythology. It actually means godly. And I'm the youngest of five, and he wanted to name all the kids Theon, even my brother. And and my mother had complications with my birth, so she was kind of out of it. So he stole the birth certificate and started writing the name, and his name is Theodore, and my mother's name is Carol. And so as he's writing my name, he goes, "Ooh, Theo," and so he put my middle name as Carol, so it's Theo and Carol. Yeah. So yes, my parents really liked each other. Well, love each other. So I guess I'm the product of that. So that makes me feel good.
That's
But
beautiful.
not, yeah, absolutely. Not when you're little. When people are like, "What is your name?" And your other siblings had like normal names like John and Nicole and stuff. So but yeah, definitely Julie does, tell Julie what you do, what your services are.
Okay, so I do readings. I do readings, just regular general readings with mediumship as well, if that's needed or wanted. And I also do intuitive life coaching. So people who are moving through life challenges, not therapy, it's not psychotherapy. I'm not a licensed psychotherapist. I'm an educator and I have a PhD in psychology, but my experience is in education and teaching positive psychology intervention. So I use psychic readings, spirit guide messages, and also positive psychology interventions, which are research-based, to help people understand their strengths and to create goals and set plans for their future and to see their future. Sometimes, and that's one of the problems I had, that a psychic was a big help to me when I was suicidal, is I couldn't see my future and I didn't have hope. And what he did was give me a snapshot of what my future could be. And he gave me hope, and it made all the difference in the world. So that's one of the things I do with intuitive life coaching. So people need a little bit more. It's more conversational, and it combines my knowledge of psychology with my psychic work to help people move forward in their lives. And then I also am a paranormal consultant. So as if you've watched this before, you know that I'm in deep training all the time, and probably will be for the rest of my life, with my guides, because this is my path, is to experience all things paranormal that are often not very fun. It's can be difficult, and learning to defend and to clear foreign energies. So I work with people who are having troubling psychic experiences and troubling paranormal experiences, and I'll do a read on that to see what's going on and help them with things they can do themselves to change the situation. But then I also will use the tools that I've been given, I believe I've been given them by God, to help people clear those problems.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just love that. And for me, I'm an intuitive remote viewer, energy healer, and now starting to really dabble into psychic detection. Really, I've had a couple clients, but I'm starting to consider what Pam was talking about, is maybe working on that side with working with local departments, doing cold cases, starting off slow, but it interests me a lot. And I also do mediumship and oh my gosh, and Akashic records readings and things like that, and mentorships. And I teach, like I said before, intuitive development. So again, find us on evolveme.com, or I know Julie has her site as well. And if you have any questions, or want to get a reading, just let us know. Message us on our social sites, as well as the Evolve Me site. So wonderful. So we hope you all have an amazing holiday season, a wonderful new year, and we'll see you back in 2024.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Bye,
right.
everybody. See ya. Bye. Bye, Julie.
Bye.
Bye. See you.
Sister friend.
I know. Oh, yeah. When that.